Ooh. Hello and welcome to a spooky edition of Majority Rules. This is season 1, episode, 12 maybe? 13? Something like that. It's a Halloween spectacular. Back to Majority Rules and what our podcast is about. So, our podcast is named this because the majority of Mizzou athletics athletes are Olympic sports athletes. So that's what we're here to talk about. I am your host, Karen Steger. This is my friend, Jack Lantern. I am the gymnastics, softball, and sometimes swimming beat writer and Olympic sports manager here at Rocket Nation. And with me tonight are the roommates. Hello.
Hello.
Introduce yourselves.
You go first. You always go first.
I am going first once again. The more things change, My name is Dylan Heinrich. I am the Beats soccer and women's basketball writer. Going to do a heavy emphasis on soccer today, as of course their season just wrapped up. So it's been a busy couple of weeks for sure, but it's still found time to do a couple Halloween-related things here and there. But I get to spend the rest of my Halloween working, so that's the quite opposite, easily the scariest option. So that's for sure.
And then I am Matthew Gustafson, the volleyball and wrestling and sometimes baseball and every once in a while swim and dive and every once in a really long while men's basketball beat writer at Rock M Nation.
You're not sometimes basketball. You and Rory are not basketball.
Baseball.
You're not sometimes baseball. You and Rory are the baseball.
You did one men's basketball article. You cannot deny it.
Yeah.
It's in the books.
Yeah, you are definitely a baseball writer and sometimes whatever else we need you to be, because you're great and you love to go to all of the events. And we are happy to have you there. Last night you were official scorekeeper at the softball game.
Somewhat official scorekeeper that sometimes just missed what happened and just wrote out instead of what actually happened because I didn't see what happened.
Yeah. We'll get to the softball thing later. That was a time. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. Let's start off with a Halloween related question. What is your favorite Halloween costume of all time? Childhood and adulthood. The best costume you've ever had. I stumped you.
I think that when I was really young, I had a pretty awesome Anakin Skywalker Halloween costume. Yeah, it was family members. My grandmother helped make my Halloween costume, if I'm remembering correctly, because it has been a long time since I actually had a well thought Halloween costume, but they helped with it. So I was Anakin Skywalker. I think I was I don't know. I don't even remember. I was some other stuff. I was never hugely in Halloween. But that is the one that I remember the most.
What about you, Dylan?
I'm in the same boat. I was not the biggest Halloween guy growing up, but my personal favorite I got to do was, if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, Dennis Nedry. He's the guy who ends up stealing all the embryos. So I had the Hawaiian shirt. I don't know where I got that from.
Your closet, which is full of Hawaiian shirts.
Truly a mystery.
I wonder
the
where.
only thing that you wear.
No clue what you're talking about. Mystery. I had a bucket hat. I had a pair of pop-out glasses. Had the shaving cream, which was probably a bad idea to give someone who was just like 15 and would just like spray his friends with the car. But that was the one that I think always stands out when I go Halloween costumes. What about
I
you?
like that. Jurassic Park is in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. It's amazing. So I'll say for mine, I don't really remember what a lot of my costumes were as a kid, except for that my brother's like a year and a half older than me. And one year he was a mummy, and my mom wrapped him from head to toe in ace bandages. And then he had a baseball cap on and his glasses. And I was a mommy. And I had my hair in a little bun and wore these big pearls in my mom's clothes. So yeah, my brother and I were a mummy and a mommy. And that
I'd like to think that was where your love of buns came from. I feel like it sparked something.
It must be. And that was the only time I was a mommy also. All right, we'll get some more Halloween related questions in here later, but the reason why everyone's here is to talk some Mizzou sports. So let's start with soccer. The end. I feel like I should play like some dun, 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 music.
Yes, it was a less than ideal finish. If you went back and were listening to the last episode, vibes were very high. You had a good feeling going in, and I mean, that kind of continued for the first half into Texas. They had 2 games left. Texas and LSU were up 1-0 in the half against Texas. Had a really good shot, but then just the wheels kind of fell apart defensively. Just couldn't quite keep to their assignments. Texas had Lexi Massimo, who is the current D1 leader in goals at like 55 now. So she eventually was going to get going. Unfortunately, it happened to be against Mizzou. Go to a winner-take-all against LSU. Had a pretty good start, had a lot of good chances, but just couldn't quite find it on net. LSU's goalkeeper also did a phenomenal job just keeping shots away from the net when they were directed towards him. Sophie Kevorkian had 5 saves in the game.
That is an unfortunate name. That is, I was reading the recap and going, that can't actually be her last name.
Yeah. So had a couple chances, but then eventually one defensive breakdown in the second half makes the difference. It was the current goal scorer for LSU, Ida Hermansdottir, who finally found an opening, was able to bury it into the top of the net, and that ends Mizzou's season right there. Just a real struggle. You only get 1 goal in the last 2 games, and then in that second half, that would have been 135 minutes at least without a goal. Going back to the first half, probably looks more like 150. So just couldn't quite put it in the back of the net when it mattered most. Obviously, Kylie Simmons didn't play the last couple games. She was battling an injury all the second half of the year. Defense looked pretty good for most of the game, but you could see the youth and the experience was still there as towards the very end. It just kind of were parts of it where you could see, okay, this is definitely a team that hasn't quite put all the pieces together. So they missed the SEC tournament it's the 4th consecutive year, but in a non-shortened year, it goes back to 2018. So they made it in 2020, but they only played like 7 matches total. So it's hard to count that. But on the complete other, so just another tough break for Mizzou. Looked like they were really putting together some momentum. You can't argue that they didn't have a better year than last year because they totally did. But just a really, really tough way to finish the season for Mizzou. You had a lot of momentum. You had a really good feeling heading into it. But last week really started to fall apart, especially against the LSU team that coming in, you felt like you were the better team. Right. You were at home, but just didn't pan out in your favor.
I feel like that's what's so disappointing is that like the last couple of weeks we were getting so high on the team. We're like, oh yes, they finally got it together. And then
nope.
Nope. Like, I mean, they had it. They had it in hand and gave it away. So I guess my question is about this, and I know Matthew can answer it, which is part of the reason why I'm asking, because he was at Tiger Talk on Tuesday while we were at women's basketball, is that what has to happen to guarantee that Stephanie Golan is still has her job next year? Because it sounds like she's going to still have her job.
Yeah.
It sounds like she will still have her job, but after next year, what do you think needs to happen? And Matthew, you can say why you think that she's gonna stick around based on Tiger Talk.
You go ahead first, my man.
All right. Well, asked about soccer was the director of athletics, Laird Veach, and he really sounded like he had confidence in Golan and the program's direction. Did not sound like somebody who was going to end up firing Golan. But at the same time, if you're a Division I athletic director and you can't sound confident about somebody and then turn around and fire him a couple of days later, you really should not be a Division I athletics director. That's just what comes with the job. You're not always going to be the most truthful about what's going on, right? So I'm not going to say that Golan is in the clear, but if we are to take Veach's words at face value, then it does look like Golan will be back with the Tigers for another season.
I just feel like he wouldn't, why say what he did if it,
my
there had to have been a different way to word it to leave it more open, I feel.
Was he asked about it, or did he bring it up? I feel like if he was asked about it, then you have to say something positive. I know we get into that idea of coach speak, because obviously you're not going to say anything negative. You're not going to say anything.
Right. You're not going to be like, no, she didn't.
Now, you would have to go back and double check. I don't believe that he was specifically asked about the soccer program, but I would not quote me on that. I said, I don't think that's the case, but I would go back and watch to make sure. But if he did bring it up unprompted, then that is a different scenario than if he was asked about it, obviously.
Okay. And then Dylan, for you, what do you think, assuming that she's back, I'm just going to assume that she's back, what do you think has to happen for her to guarantee her position? She keeps her position after this next season.
Yeah. So looking ahead, obviously she signed a 5-year deal when she initially was brought into the program. So she will be entering year 5 starting next year.
Okay.
So this is technically still on her first contract. When you go back to 2023, it's hard to call it anything but a total disaster. Could not win the big games, just struggled night in and night out. This year, there was some progress made. You got a couple big wins. You're constantly putting yourself in a threat and in a position, showing that they can kind of put down their opponents in a way with that 5-0 win against Ole Miss, especially. You go back to last year's team, that one's probably a dogfight all the way, ending in a tie. So the progress is there. I think another encouraging thing is I believe it's 5 of their top 6 minute getters are coming back next year. Good. Especially, I think their entire defensive line minus Rachel Catella are all freshmen or sophomores, pretty much. Just Larson's a junior, but for the most part, this is a very young line that has time to grow, and you kind of see them grow together and connect throughout the year. But in terms of when we look ahead to 2025, I think they've got a very complete roster. Offensively, there are plenty of questions. Look at Leah Selm, Milena Fisher are both gone, but there's still players like Keegan Good, Kylie Simmons. I still think Emily DeRucki has some really good freshmen going into her sophomore year potential. A lot of really good freshmen that are going to be coming into that 2025 class. Okay. So I think the pieces are there. And what Beach talked about at Tiger Talk is it's a very slow process for soccer because you're recruiting. You basically recruit when they start when they're juniors. So you're kind of a year behind departments like football, men's and women's basketball. So there's very much kind of a buffer period in what makes a good soccer program, which is why I think Beach and people like myself aren't totally out on Golan because she's in year 4, but she might as well be in year 3 is how you feel about it. But at the end of the day, It's year 5. You've got most of your recruits. You've got great talent coming back in players like Simmons. Kate Phillips is guaranteed to be back. Maybe Bella Hollenbach. Again, I talked about that defensive line. At the very minimum, you have to make the SEC tournaments.
Mhm.
Anything less than that, and I think that it's a lost cause. The NCAA tournament, I don't think is a must, but I think I would like to see what Coach Golan did with her 2023 schedule in the non-con. Do that again in 2025. You have a lot more of these winnable matchups, not as many top 25. Plus, you get KU and Illinois on the roster or on the schedule sheet. I would love to see that happen again. A lot more of these fringe borderline teams that you could probably beat and would be huge resume builders. So I think there is a path where they make the NCAA tournament, but it's all about what can you do in the non-con? How can you develop these players over this offseason? And who's going to step up to help out Kylie Simmons on that offensive line? I didn't even mention rules, but I think that the pieces are there. But like you mentioned, next year, I think is going to be the real prove-it year. You saw the development from 2023 to 2024. Now where's that development, and can that keep going up? Will it be exponential growth and not just maybe one tiny step at a time, one step forward, 2 steps back type of deal?
I mean, it is really a no, right? It's your roster. You have had plenty of time to develop your system. You have several starters who have been there for multiple seasons now. If you're not going to have success next year, you're probably not ever going to have success with Mizzou.
It's also because it's a contract year. Like that's very true. That's the last straw.
Well, and like at some point, I just have to feel like they brought her in because they saw what she did at Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. I was like, I swear that's right. Yeah. And she had success at Minnesota. How, when does that kind of start translating over to Missouri?
Yeah, it's, again, that's the thing is you look at it, even the people who are going to be seniors next year, excuse me, Kylie Simmons was not a recruit of Stephanie Golan's. Again, that just gives you some perspective, even though she's coached her for all 4 years. Mm-hmm. Obviously a really good talent, but definitely when you look at the greater scale, it takes a lot longer to build a program. But I think that coming up this year, especially, the talent is there. What Coach Golan did very specially and very smartly is recruiting that St. Louis area, which, of course, Karen, about this, very, very good soccer talent. People who live in the area, about St. Louis, Scott Gallagher, but Lou Hughes Athletic, also a very blossoming, great soccer program. Bunch of kids there who have come through that pipeline, like your Emily Druckys, like your Morgan Miedors. They are really starting to shape up and prove why they belong, and KC as well with Keegan Good. So
Blue Valley.
Exactly, Blue Valley. I know I'm blanking on the other one, but it'll come to me at some point. But either way, now you can, like you said, you got the feeling that it's finally her team and her roster, not this sort of Frankenstein between her and Coach Blitz, even though this next year will be Coach Blitz's last recruiting staff. You really do get the feeling and the idea that, okay, this is really Coach Golan's team and her opportunity at this point. And while there have been, like Matthew said, excuses in the past, this year is really going to be the year that it's make or break. So get ready for August, folks.
Yeah. Well, that answers Cal's question. He asked about soccer recruiting, so good job on reading his mind. And then the last soccer question I have came courtesy of my dad, who wanted to know, why can't the Tigers soccer team put up sustained offensive pressure?
Yeah. So this year, I talk about it a lot, but when you don't have someone as talented as Kylie Simmons, who 2023 first team all SEC, led the entire conference in goals, arguably the most difficult soccer conference. She did that on a Missouri team that was struggling. When you don't have someone as dynamic like that in the lineup, it's going to cause you problems, no doubt. But when we're looking at the grand scheme and, of course, just the general scheme of things, this is a Missouri team that likes to work fast. They like to work with pace. They don't like to develop a lot in the midfield. It's a lot of you get the ball, you quickly work down the wings, and you cross it into the box. And hopefully good things will happen. Maybe they clear it. Maybe you get the rebound, but it's a lot of scrumming around in and around the box. So this isn't a team that's going to back pass a lot and build up in the midfield, which is definitely a style. It's worked a lot, and that's how they can put up goals very quickly. Like when Leah Selm scored, I think it was 37 seconds against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So there's a place for that. I think that there's a lot of success that can be had against especially lesser teams. But if you want to score goals against some of the elite competition in the SEC, you got to work to build in that midfield. You got to pass the ball backwards. You got to not be afraid to maybe pass up a good shot and wait for a great shot. Try and find open teammates as much as possible, and don't always just look for that cross. Don't be afraid to work the middle of the field, because I feel like Mizzou on offense just likes to go to the boundaries and forget the complete middle third of the field. So I think if they can control all three facets from sideline to sideline, that's when you can start to see them put up more goals, not only against some of these lesser competitions like an Ole Miss, but maybe put up 2-3 goals against a team like Arkansas, South Carolina, Mississippi State, etc.
Awesome. Thank you. I guess now you're like free from your soccer coverage.
Pretty much.
Your last article that came out was your feature.
Yes.
On Landis, Canada.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's just, I'm going to write it now. Oh, shoot, something else comes up. I'm going to write it now. Something else comes up. But wear and tear, finally was able to get that article out, which I'm not really, I wouldn't say even disappointed that it came out at this point in the season. I think features are always great to have.
Everybody with a good taste in their mouth.
Exactly. I think that everyone, even if you're mostly checked out from the soccer, just Landis Canada, I think, is someone who's very integral to this team moving forward. She, I think, was ranked second on the team in minutes as a true freshman, played several positions in the midfield and the back line, saw really high praise from someone like Kylie Simmons, like Coach Golan. I think if she plays her cards right, if you remember the prime years that Grace Pettit had, Landis Canada, I think, can reach those heights, maybe even higher with this Missouri team, and really just be a staple right there as a center back.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how things go for her going forward. So now we close the book on soccer, and it just opens right back up on women's basketball, which will be in full force, but we're going to save that for a later show. Before we get to Matthew and volleyball, let's ask another Halloween question. If you became a ghost, which Mizzou-related location would you haunt? So it could be haunt good or haunt bad. So I'll allow you to think about yours for a minute. I will tell you that Quentin said yesterday in the softball press box that he would pick Taylor Stadium because no one wants to play in a haunted stadium and it would force them to build a new one. I originally thought my answer would be Hearns for the same sort of reason, but then I thought about it today and decided that I would pick the J School archway. Since you're not supposed to talk in there. And I was talking to my coworker, Ben, about this today, and he said that it would go something along the lines of, sometimes when the wind is blowing just right, you can hear the echoes of Karen going, shut up, to the people who are talking in the archway. I thought that was good. And he wanted to say that his would be the top of the tower at Memorial Union is where he would choose to haunt. So now you guys are up. Where would you pick and why?
I'll give you two. I will say, first one I will pick is Faurot Field, because I think that obviously as a student now you can get in for fairly cheap, but I've been just hearing about some of those ticket prices afterwards, and I think that's probably the easiest way to enjoy Mizzou Tiger football is just get free tickets as a ghost. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Good call.
I feel like you could also just like haunt opposing players to kind of make an impact on the game. I think that would work. Question mark? Who knows? I don't know ghost ethics that well, so. On the other hand,
I questioned yesterday. I was like, if I can pick a person, can I haunt Frank Haith or Will Wade?
Good one.
Because I don't like either one of them.
I think the other like Mizzou Center answer is, of course, would be the student center. I think there's just so much hustle and bustle that I don't feel like I would ever have a dull moment as a ghost. And if I'm going to be stuck basically in one spot for the rest of my life, I don't think there's a better spot day in, day out with just so much variety than that Mizzou Student Center.
It's good. Maybe you could make some friends with some other ghosts.
Who knows who's around?
Yeah, why not? Okay, Matthew. I know that you heard us talking about this yesterday, so you've had time to think of an answer.
I feel like I was the one who didn't I come up with the question? I thought I was the one who came up with
Were
the
you
question.
the one that came up with the question? Well, then you definitely should have an answer.
I feel like both those are pretty good. Both because I feel like they're probably never going to tear Furrow down. But taking the lifespan of buildings out of the equation, I mean, it would have to be Hearns for me. Volleyball and wrestling. And then I still haven't seen a gymnastics meet in person, which is something that I want to do.
On January 3rd.
But it has never, although that isn't at Hearns, though. So,
good call. That's it.
And I'm also going to have to cover wrestling, so I won't really be able to pay attention.
Well, you'll be in the presence of gymnastics.
Yes, the presence.
But anyway,
like you're haunting.
it will not be the full experience, but that would also allow me to do that, and of the different like arenas, athletic facilities at Mizzou, football, just one team plays there. Basketball, 2 teams play there. Neither was very good last season. Baseball, 1 team plays there. Softball, 1 team plays there. Hearns, you get 3 teams, and you know what? They're all pretty dang good, and they have been pretty consistently for quite a while.
I like that we all kind of took
including the Joshua Taylor years for volleyball, just to clarify.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll have another Halloween related question after we talk about volleyball. We're just interspersing in spooky things. So up next, Matthew, volleyball continues to win.
Yes,
Talk
they did.
to us about it.
So Mizzou has now extended their winning streak to 6. They are 6-2 in the SEC, which makes them tied for second in the conference. This weekend, they had 2 matches, one on Friday against Arkansas and one on Sunday against Oklahoma. Now, the Arkansas one was a very comfortable victory on the road in Fayetteville against a team that is still, after losing Mizzou, still receiving votes in the AVCA Top 25 poll. Lost the first set, 25-21. They come back. They win set 2, 25-18, set 3, 25-20, and then dominant fourth set, 25-21. Mizzou hit 260 in this match, led by Michael Vernon, who set a new career high and program high in kills. She had 37 kills with a 385 hitting percentage. 385 hitting percentage on 78 attempts is insane. Absolutely absurd. She also added 2 block assists and 17 digs. Colleen Finney having herself a good match as well. 8 kills, 571 hitting percentage, and a block assist. And then Marina Crenover, setter, had a career high 61 assists and 4 service aces alongside 11 digs and 1 kill. So, offense, Vernon, very good. Honestly, the other 2 main hitters for Mizzou, Jordan Eilert, Janet Demery, struggling in this match, taking more of a backseat to Vernon, which is why they only hit 260. Still respectable, but not quite what we're used to seeing this team do. But the reason they were able to win is because they held Arkansas to a 163 hitting percentage, and they held them below 200 in each of the final 3 sets, below 100 in each of the final 2 sets. They had 7 aces the Tigers compared to only 2 for Arkansas. So really statistical dominance on defense and everything except for blocks. Not very shocking. Mizzou not known as a strong blocking team. Arkansas with Zoe Evans, one of the best, if not the best blockers in the SEC. She had 6 by herself in that matchup. And then you get into Oklahoma, who is better than their record would necessarily show. Oklahoma is a top 50 RPI team, and Mizzou just barely hangs on. 3-2, 5-set victory, 25-19. They lose the first set. They come back, winning 25-18, and then 25-13 in that third set. They lead 22-17.
Curse is over.
22-17 in set 4. Oklahoma has a late run, forces set 5. So you're in okay. About to clinch victory. Other team is a late run, heading to set 5. Kind of feeling a little bit like Texas A&M, and you're in, uh-oh, what is going to happen here?
I know. I saw your Slack message, Matthew.
Yes.
You thought it was another Texas A&M.
It was not. Although Oklahoma in set 5 did take an early 5-2 lead. Mizzou fighting back. They end up forcing match point. They forced match point like 4 separate times before getting the final point. They end up winning set 5 19-17 via an ace from Marina Crownover. Now looking at the stats for this game, Mizzou hitting 278. They had 2 phenomenal hitting sets. They hit 613 and 407 in sets 2 and 3, but they hit below 230 in the other 3. Meanwhile, Oklahoma was pretty solid throughout, but they hit 0 hitting percentage in the third set and a 161 hitting percentage in the fifth set, ending up hitting 195. Second straight match, Tigers hold the opposing team below 200 for the match. Looking at individual stats now, Vernon, once again, pretty solid, 17 kills, 283 hitting percentage, 3 aces, 2 block assists, 11 digs. Jordan Iliff, Janet, a little bit of a lower efficiency, 23 kills, but hits 212, has 12 attack errors, not something we're used to seeing from her. But Janet Demaray, really strong match, 13 kills, 375 hitting percentage. Marina Crownover adds 60 assists, 12 digs, 2 kills. And then Maya Sands just continuing to be phenomenal on the defensive end as well. So the Tigers receiving votes unofficially, I believe the 29th ranked team in the country by the ABCA poll.
Did they moved up again then?
Of 24. What was that?
Did they move up again then?
Yes, they are. They had not been receiving votes before this week. They receive votes in the preseason poll. They receive votes after the opening weekend, and then they fill out of the poll, and they have not been in the ABCA ever since. So it has
second
been
in the SEC yet wasn't make
correct.
It make sense.
Now, we did do a blind ranking. I put together a blind ranking, which I did on my KCU volleyball show. I showed it to you. I showed it to Dylan. I am probably going to put it out on Twitter before the match on Friday. And a lot of people rank them ahead of teams that are not only ahead of them in the receiving votes category, but teams that are ranked between 20 and 25 in the ABCA poll. So, it kind of feels like this team could very easily be ranked higher than they are right now, but they have a shot to absolutely put zero doubt in the voters' minds. Texas, 2-time defending national champs. Tigers are going to be facing them in Austin on Friday night. Oh, and by the way, Marina Crownover, SEC Set of the Week this week. 3rd time she's won the award, more than anybody else this season. Transfer from Texas this offseason. She's got
and your
friends.
guest
She's
on
got
Over the Net
teammates who are on Texas. And yes, I did talk to her this morning. That will be released Friday morning, the morning of the Texas match. So make sure to go check that out. Big opportunity for Mizzou, a chance to really put themselves on the map nationally. Yeah. Leave no doubt about their place in the SEC. And I believe that this would actually put them, if they win, ahead of Texas in the rankings. Because Texas already has a loss. They lost to A&M. So they have one loss. Mizzou has two. So if they get the win over Texas, they would have the same number of losses and the head-to-head victory, which would put them ahead in the rankings.
I love that. So Quentin had a question about this matchup with Texas. He said, say, if Mizzou beats Texas, will they control their own destiny with the SEC in regards to the SEC title?
I don't believe they would, because they are currently tied for second right now, and the team they're tied with is Kentucky, who pretty handily beat the Tigers in Lexington. But, and here's the big thing, they get a chance to play them in Columbia, right? So if you beat Texas, you beat Kentucky, you run the table, then all it takes is another loss for Kentucky, or you go to the tiebreakers, which I am not quite sure how that would play out for Mizzou right now.
If I'm not mistaken, since Kentucky has 2 losses, and if you face and beat Kentucky, that's 3. So you'd be the only one with.
If you went out, then yes, okay, that is
they control their own destiny.
That is true. There's a reason I'm not a math major, but yes, thank you.
However unlikely they could do it.
Yes, I mean, is it likely they run the table? No, right? It's not likely. I don't think it's likely that any SEC team runs the table, to be honest with you, the way the conference has been this year. Mm-hmm. But if Mizzou runs the table, then they would win the conference, I believe.
Interesting. Another question. I honestly don't know who it came from. Someone in the softball press box yesterday. What do you think is the ceiling for this Mizzou volleyball team this year?
I think that the ceiling is likely going to be reaching the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. I don't feel like the team will end up winning the SEC. I think they can definitely be top 3, but it feels like the Texas match, Kentucky match, most likely going to be losses, right? Okay. And it's possible they pick up another loss or two along the way. In addition, you still have to face Florida, you still have to face Auburn, but neither of those teams has looked unbeatable by any stretch. And in fact, I would favor Mizzou over Auburn if they went head-to-head today. But, you look at what can this team do? I feel like 3 losses, even 2 losses in the rest of the regular season is realistic. And at that point, with the number of quad 1 wins they would have, their quad 2 resume as well, and where they would be in the RPI, a 5 or a 6 seed is probably where they would end up, right? So you get to that, anything can happen. Then you face a much easier second round matchup than you had last year when you faced the number 1 overall seed in the country, Nebraska.
Yeah.
So, this is a team that said before the year they want to be a top 4 seed. They want to host the opening rounds and make the Sweet 16. That's not impossible. They could do it.
I've been to a Mizzou volleyball game when they have hosted back during the Krecklow years, I guess it was. They played Purdue. I remember.
So, it is not out of the realm of possibility for the team to do it. Would that be definitely kind of towards that high end of the possibilities for the rest of the season? Yeah, but this is a team that's constantly just kind of outperformed what we've expected them to do, right? Second to last in the SEC in the preseason poll last year. They make the second round of the NCAA tournament. They were picked 6th in the preseason poll, which, to be fair, is how I had them before the season started. They're tied for 2nd in the SEC right now. So you never know with this Tigers team. They always seem to have a knack for doing a little bit better than people are expecting them to. And if they continue to play the way they have been, nothing really is out of the realm of possibility for this team. And one of the reasons that is the case is some of the biggest issues that they had at the beginning of the season, they have come a long way. Looking at the stats, they are currently 12th in the SEC in opposing hitting percentage. But when you look at SEC matches only, so you take out non-con, they're in the top half of the conference. They're 7th out of 15 teams. So this is a team that the defense has been markedly improved over the last couple of weeks. And something that has kind of flown a little bit below the radar that I haven't ended up talking about as much is serve receive, right? They were allowing a lot of aces in non-con, and that has not been the case during the SEC schedule. They're allowing the 3rd fewest aces by opposing teams in the SEC during conference play, which is very impressive for a team that really struggled with serve receive at the beginning of the year. And obviously, the fewer issues you have with receiving the serve, the easier it's going to be to get into your offense. You're not going to be out of system. The more in-system attacks you have, the more effective you're going to be, which is why we continue to see this offense be one of the best, if not the best, in the SEC and one of the best in the country. And when you combine one of the best offenses in the country with a defense that, even if it's not one of the best in the country, can at least be solidly above average, that opens up a lot of doors for this team.
And then one last question for you, Matthew. This was my question. Who would be your pick for a fun team for Mizzou to match up against?
Fun team for Mizzou to match up against? Are we talking NCAA tournament?
Or down the road, like in the future, who you'd like to see them schedule, like just a team that you're like, that would be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. So there are a couple of possibilities out there. Number one, and this is both for future and in terms of NCAA tournament, KU, right? I mean, obviously it's the classic rivalry, but at the same time, KU is a really solid volleyball program. They're looking like they may be a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament this year. So you might see a Mizzou-KU matchup determining who goes to the Sweet 16. It is absolutely something that could happen. And obviously, I feel like they're 2 really good offenses. It's something that would be a lot of fun to watch. One of my picks would be Marquette. Okay, yeah, I know.
Because you're a homer.
I'm a Marquette homer. I grew up watching Marquette volleyball, but it is a team that is consistently good in the Big East. I think their style of play is interesting. They have some really good middles in Carson Murray. They have a setter in Yadira Enchante, who is fantastic, one of the best in the country. I saw something today. She's one of the 15 best setters in the country in terms of attacking, which I think that would be a really fun matchup to see her and Marina Crownover go head-to-head. And then there are just some other teams around the region. You look at, for example, Indiana could be interesting. Purdue could be really fun. Iowa State could be a fun matchup because Dawn Sullivan coached at Iowa State. One of her mentors is the current head coach at ISU. And you saw them actually match up in an exhibition before the start of last season. So I feel like that's something that could happen pretty easily, where you could see them, going head to head in, maybe at Hilton, for example. Maybe you have a home, right, where you have Hilton and Hearns. So kind of rekindling that old Big 12 matchup. And another one that you could do is Kansas State. I think that Mizzou would be favored in that one. K-State has a solid volleyball program, not necessarily on the level of a KU or on the level of a Purdue or even Marquette, but that is where she played. That's where Dawn Sullivan played. She was a K-State Wildcat. She was an All-American for K-State. So it would be pretty fun to see her go and play her alma mater.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Before I get to softball, another Halloween question for you. Real quick, give me your top 3 candy choices. I'll start with mine in no particular order. Baby Ruth. Love a Baby Ruth. Laffy Taffy. Not the green. but like any purple, pink, red, banana, those are all good. And then something like either a Sprees or a Sweet Tarts, because I love tart candy.
I'll go next. I'll balance you out here, Karen. I'm chocolate guy through and through. So I think in terms of pure chocolate, I think Kit Kat is the best one. It's got the wafery feel. It's a lot harder to melt than a lot of the other ones. Just the crunch that you get is almost unmatched. Then in terms of pairing stuff, Reese's peanut butter cups, like they get such a high reputation for a reason. They're almost always gone. Peanut butter and chocolate, how can you beat it? And then an underrated one, I'm going to cheat here and do two. Mounds / Almond Joy. People do not give that enough respect. I love me some chocolate and coconut. Throw in a little bit of nuts in there, and it's a perfect combination. I had an Almond Joy today, and I was like, man, I truly forgot how good these are. So,
and a lot of people hate those.
If you don't have any Almond Joys you want, drop them off at my apartment. We'll be in contact.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Okay, Matthew, top 3.
Number 1 always is going to be anything Reese's. Anything Reese's.
No small.
Okay.
Number 2, just a plain Hershey chocolate bar.
Simple.
The classic, not the dark.
The classic.
Okay.
Cookies and cream, also acceptable.
So good.
Okay.
And number 3 is going to be probably Snickers.
Okay.
First caramel on the board.
Quentin and I were having a conversation about this yesterday, and you'll find out that I missed like a good inning and a half because we were talking about, and he was confusing Baby Ruth's with Three Musketeers, which is blasphemous.
I feel like people will usually confuse like Three Musketeers with Milky Way.
I think the packaging for Baby Ruth and Three Musketeers is just so similar.
That's why he said that he got it confused, was because they both have silver packaging.
Like Three Musketeers, a little bit of Baby Ruth, and then Milky Way are all like your nougat candy bars, right? So I feel like they all have, some similar like flavor and similar taste in that way. So I feel like people will get them confused because there's just like these small differences between each of them where if you aren't like a big fan, if you only have those at Halloween, if you're not like getting a full-size candy bar or one of those outside of Halloween, you're not going to remember the difference.
I know the difference. Oh, and I will say my honorable mention, Heath Bar.
Ooh.
Love a Heath Bar. I also love Milk Duds, though you have to be careful when you eat them.
They'll take out your teeth, man. No joke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I wonder
careful.
if you're a fan of the Heath Bar, have you ever had the toffee from the Candy Factory downtown in Columbia?
Yes.
The Tiger Toffee?
Delicious.
That's good stuff. That's my family always has to bring some back whenever they're in town.
Yeah, my mom and I love Heath Bars and love some coffee. All right, so we will close out with some softball. Mizzou softball wrapped up their final fall ball game yesterday. We think the score was 17-1 over Central Methodist. The one run was because Taylor Pinnell, who has struggled a little bit, I keep wanting to cough, sorry. Taylor Pinnell, who struggled a little bit with giving up the long ball, I feel like, in fall ball. She gave up a solo shot in the top of the 9th inning. And I think she's given up 3 home runs that I've seen. So I didn't feel like she really had a propensity to give up a bunch of home runs last year. So just something to monitor going forward. But as for the rest of the game, Marissa McCann is back, baby. Oh my God, I'm like dying over here. She must have gotten the all clear from the medical staff. Apparently, she pitched a little bit in the black and gold game last week, but since I arrived late because of the time that it was at, I must have missed where she pitched. So she was the starter. She pitched 3 innings. I thought she looked just as good as she did her freshman season. Her first inning of work, she struck out the side. She had a regular strikeout, a looking strikeout, then she gave up a double, and then she closed out the inning with another strikeout. So that was awesome. In the second inning, I believe she gave up a single, but then she forced a really nice double play to end that inning. And then the third inning, I think that was during my random side conversations. I know that she got a strikeout, but other than that, I don't know. Oh my God. Offensively, the bats weren't working a whole lot until Quentin left in the 5th inning, and then the power surge came on. So they got an early run from a home run from Julia Crenshaw in the 1st inning, and then they didn't have any more until the bottom of the 5th inning when they scored 10 runs. 10 runs in the bottom of the 5th. And I think it was just because Quentin left. So that was really awesome. Let me see what. Oh my God, all happened there. Sorry. So it looks like Tiny Claire singled. Madison Updegrove and Julia Crenshaw walked before Sanaya Hill hit a 2-run triple, which made it 4-0. Hay then followed up with a 2-run homer to make it 6-0. Madison Walker followed that up with the longest home run I've ever seen in my life to make it 7-0. She hit it to the highest part of the top of the hill in the center field berm, like way up there. Like I was like, that thing like went out of the park. It truly was like a moonshot.
At least 240, if not 250.
Yeah, she smashed that thing. And then Cadence Shepard, who had a really good game, by the way. She had a stand-up triple before Stefania Abriscato had a homer of her own, and that made it 9-0. And then Hayden Sokolowski walked, and I think Nevaeh Watkins hit a sacrifice or something like that. It brought in Sokolowski and made it 10-0. Kaylee Linger did something. I don't know. My attention was waning at that point. They had just scored too many runs. I couldn't concentrate anymore. They scored another run. So by the end of the 5th inning, it was 11-0. In the bottom of the 6th, they tacked on a couple more. Cadence Shepard hit an inside the park home run, which brought home 2 runs. That made it 13-0. In the 8th inning, Sophie Smith hit a double, and then they walked home a run. There were a lot of walks in this game, so that was like they walked in a run. So Sophie Smith got on with a double, but then there also were walks to Thurman, Shepard, and Watkins, so it brought in another run. And then Danielle Blackston hit a sacrifice fly, and that made it 15-0. So it just was kind of insane. And then they scored 2 more in the bottom of the 9th after Pinnell had given up that home run to break up the shutout on 3 walks and some poor fielding by Central Methodist. they botched some double plays that ended up allowing 2 more runs to score. So we have a lot to think about in the offseason since we have until February 7th, and this team is off until they face the Marshall Thundering Herd in Clearwater. And then it'll be even longer before they come back home to Mizzou Softball Stadium. And that won't be until March 21st when they open up against Oklahoma. So craziness. A couple of lingering questions I have to think about over the off season. Who is going to be the DP? I mean, there's just like a list. If Kara Daly starts the season at shortstop, which she played a good amount of shortstop last night, and Walker's at third, but if Kara's at third, then Walker is clearly a DP candidate. Also in the running would be Fania, of course, Sokolowski, and then I would like to offer another choice, Sanaya Hill. She's kind of iffy in the field. She alternates between making really good plays and then like missing routine plays at third base. But she is super speedy and she has a really good bat. And I think she could be someone that could get in there for that. My next question is, who on earth is the shortstop? Because I don't even know. You know, like I said, like Daly played shortstop for several innings on Wednesday. And I know that we are all pretty adamantly opposed to her being the shortstop, but you know, we're not in charge.
Yeah.
She's too tall. We don't like it, but oh well. Other people that could be shortstop, Madison Updegrove has played a lot of shortstop throughout these fall ball games. She's also been pretty impressive in the lineup. She's got a good bat on her.
She's got some power. Yeah.
What?
She's got some power too.
Yeah. So I could see that. And then we've also gotten glimpses of Kaden Shepard and Sophie Smith, I think, at shortstop as well. It's all so weird because I just remember at the end of last season, there were so many of us that thought that it like Laird was leaving, it was going to be Crenshaw. And that does not seem like that is not in the plans at all. Crenshaw is entrenched at catcher and Fania will be in there every once in a while. So I think that that's kind of interesting. So that'll be a fun thing to figure out who's going to end up playing shortstop. The outfield, I feel like, is set with Nevaeh Watkins in right, Kay Linger in center, and Claire Cahalan in left. As we were talking, like, they're not tall, but they're fast. So height is not really on their side, but they are all pretty speedy. I think Kaylee Langer's a decent height, but Nevaeh and Claire, tiny Claire, obviously, are on the shorter side. Sokolowski will probably be in line to take an outfield spot if someone has problems. I think we also saw Jordan Thurman and Daniel Blackston has been out in there a bunch, so maybe there could be some others. It was hard to tell. The rotation is clearly going to be Sierra and Marissa are your 1 and 2. But after that, I don't know. Lily Witten looked better yesterday than she has the rest of the games that I've seen. I'd say Natalie Touche's in the mix.
It feels like it's kind of Touche's job to lose at this point.
Yeah.
With the way that I would have said Touche and Donahue were the main candidates entering fall ball, but Touche has gotten way more time in the circle than Donahue. And she's gotten, I feel like, way more time than anybody else beside Harrison, just because of that McCann injury. But it kind of feels like she's the pretty clear leader at this point.
Well, Donahue's only been pitching 1 inning at a time. So I think I'm like, oh, well, she's not going to be the midweeker if she's only pitching 1 inning at a time. Yeah. I still think there's a shot for Witten only because she throws so hard.
Yeah.
She's the flamethrower of the bunch. but she also has struggled with command for much of fall ball. I think it's between Witten and Touche. I'd probably give it to Touche at this point. Taylor, Pinnell's the clear closer, of course. Just hope that she gets the whole home run thing taken care of. I think my last question really is, and I wrote all about this all for the site. It came out earlier today. My last question is, we've talked about all of this stuff, all these players, and not once has anybody mentioned Maya Dodge. It's like, so I know that she had surgery in the off season, so that didn't help the case for people to see her. But like, really, what is her role? I think I heard her name. I think I heard her come in as a pinch runner yesterday.
She did. She
did. I was like, I swear I heard her name, but that's the only time I've heard her name. She's been largely limited. She's not that far removed from being so productive at Northern Iowa. Like, I'm just waiting for her to show it, like we thought that she was going to be this like big, huge impact transfer, and then it just didn't happen. So I'm just wondering what is her role?
My initial guess would just be like surgery again. They're trying to ease her back into it. This offseason, I believe they've got just over 3 months under their belt to get her. But I still think that in the outfield, you've got very clear 3 favorites. Sokolowski, there's definitely others there. But I think if Maya Dodge truly lives up to her potential and starts putting in that offseason work, starts getting healthier and healthier and healthier, I feel like there is definitely a spot for her either in left or in right. I doubt this is the last that we'll see of Maya Dodge to some capacity. I'm
just kind of in like prove it mode with her, like, because we didn't see her at her potential last season. Don't know if I don't know what the surgery was on. I don't know what her health problems were. So was it like a Brady Cook type of thing where find out later his arm was dislodged from his body? We don't know exactly what she was dealing with, and if maybe that had an impact on her performance. So I don't know, but we wave goodbye to softball until February. And then to wrap up this last little bit, I would like to know your favorite scary movie. and why. I have 2 vastly different ones. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Wait, what?
Are we? It sounds like it's a Halloween / scary
movie. I know. I kind of messed it up. Halloween / scary movie.
That's Snoopy.
That's not terrifying. Halloween and or scary movie. Okay, so I will say that Halloween scary movie, the original Scream.
Yes, it's so good. I rewatched it a week ago.
Yes. Okay. On to you guys now that I've changed the rules.
So I personally am very much a proponent of scary movies. I can't say I've seen a lot, but the ones that I've seen, I've very much enjoyed. I'm a big fan of John Carpenter as a director. And of course, he's most known for his Halloween, the OG with Michael Myers in '79. Believe it's the greatest Halloween
good music too.
Scary movie. He also did the music for that. Fun fact. And then my personal favorite scary movie of all time is the one he did right afterwards called The Thing. It's a remake of the 1960s. Takes place in Antarctica. It's a really imposter syndrome, who's done it. Got some really good special effects, but that is a movie that always just makes my skin crawl whenever I watch it. So that's one that I will be consuming in the next week, no doubt.
Okay.
And then I'm not really a big fan of the horror movie genre, but in terms of scary movie, psychological thriller, Silence of the Lambs is one of the greatest movies of all time. Hannibal Lecter.
Plus the glass, Clarice.
Hannibal Lecter, maybe the greatest movie villain of all time. And then Halloween movie is going to be either Hocus Pocus or Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
So good.
Yep.
Love me some Gene Wilder.
Good call. Good call.
A lot of good bits in that movie.
And if you have a favorite Halloween movie, listeners at home, feel free to leave it as a comment.
Oh, yeah. Because we all comments. And feel free to leave me your favorite brand of cough drops since I
you'd be doing us a huge favor.
Oh.
If you have some medical advice, doctors, please chime in. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you can read all of our work at rockmnation.com. We've all recently put out stories. I had a softball recap today. Matthew's been killing it with the volleyball stuff. And a black and gold recap. And then Dylan just put out that article about Landis, Canada. So head over to rockmnation.com. Check out all of our stuff. Also, I recommend that you subscribe to rockm.plus. We're going to try to start using that a little bit more. I hope we kind of have a plan going forward for women's basketball to kind of build up that coverage a little bit. So we will see. And I guess that's all. So I'll leave you with this. MIC!
ZOU.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, and I'll try not cough as much. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.